Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our Paws on Netflix podcast.
Today we're discussing one of the latest anime series on Netflix called Kotaro Lives Alone.
Yes, and this slice of life series follows Kotaro as he lives in an apartment complex by himself.
Yes.
And he meets his neighbors, goes to school, and has little tasks he does on his own. He's so cute. As the series goes on, we find out just why Kotaro lives alone.
Yes. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get future podcasts and we'll pause videos.
Absolutely. And we've seen this recommended on Twitter by some followers. We've seen it pop up and we put a reminder. And we couldn't imagine what this show was going to be about. As they showed you this little boy named Kotaro sitting at a table by himself eating alone.
Yeah.
And we couldn't imagine what it was about. And it's nothing like we expected it to be.
Right. And it almost seemed like it was a much shorter series, and it is a comedy in a way. It's more of a dramedy when you watch it, but it is hilarious when you see a majority of it.
Yes.
But it seemed like it was one thing when you read it, and it's another when you watch it, which has been happening a lot with the Netflix stuff.
Yeah. There are, as you mentioned, some really hilarious parts. Almost every episode, guys, has some comedy. But there are some parts in there that pull your heartstrings, and if you're like me, had you sitting there crying tears and being sad for just that moment when they showed some of the different things that have happened in his life. And it's a great combination, as you said, of comedy and drama. It really is. But it's not what you expected. Yeah. You thought it was going to be something. The way it looks on the trailer is like it's something for little bitty kids, and maybe it'll be like a learning show or something that is just like for kids
like Nick Jr.
are 6 or younger. But this is not it.
Maybe something like for Nick Jr.
Right.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's absolutely not for kids. This show is not for children.
No, even though there is no innuendos, well, there's a little bit of that. There is no violence, there's no blood and gore, there is no anything like that that's considered R-rated. But even for it being majority of it clean, yeah, the content and stuff, and the stories and the backstories for Kotaro and some of the other characters, yeah, your kids should not be watching this. So don't let them see it.
It's not that kind of show. And it's anime. You should know right off the bat, 92% of the time it's not for kids. This is another one that isn't.
Right.
But it's a really great watch. It's got, as we mentioned, heart-wrenching moments. It's got fun moments. And it's got a great story. There's actually a story here that's being told. And it's interesting. And there are quite a few plot twists depending on the episodes you're watching. Things you don't expect to happen. Things you don't expect to see. But what I do love is that even though he lives alone, and he's 4 years old, we forgot to tell you, he's 4. F-O-U-R. 4 years old, living in an apartment by himself.
Yes, and the landlord allowed that.
As long as he gets paid, that's what they said.
And they say, yeah, that fits.
But the way it's written, he is finding his family through the neighbors and the teachers at his school, the kids at his school, and people that he's met along the way. We don't want to spoil it all, but he slowly but surely forms his family. And Rascal noticed this, I didn't. In the end credits, it starts off where it's just Kotaro, and then each time you see more and more people depending on whom he's met and made friends with, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until at the last episode, it's just really a slice of life, warming, fun outro and pictures. Yeah. And I didn't notice it. I'm like, how did you notice that? So the group gets bigger and bigger.
Yes. And he gets along with you more of the kids when he starts going to school, because like the first few episodes he's not going, and then he literally registers himself, or he tries to. It's like it's like the only kid I've seen where they actually want to go to school and they put the effort into registering themselves to go to school. Most kids are just like, hey, I just live alone, you can do what you want. Like, nah, he knows he needs an education, so he goes and signs himself up.
And he watches this show called
Koma-san, I think.
No, Totonomon?
Oh yeah, Totonomon.
And everyone says this show show is boring, how does he watch it? But he's become his hero. So his speech is like the character on that anime.
Yes.
And it's so hilarious to hear this little kid who's speaking like he's in the medieval times and talking to people like he's a grown-up, because he says he's very grown-up.
At 4.
At 4.
Yeah, and every time like, oh, how is this being made into a movie? How are you watching this? And you know, that part is relatable, because there are shows sometimes that we see or other people have seen where it's considered bad or boring or horrid and hated by lots, but then there are a few individuals that absolutely love it, and it's like a little secret gem that you have. So that part is actually very relatable to probably a lot of viewers.
And I've seen some people on Twitter who say this is sad. It's that if you want to see something sad, watch it. I don't agree. There are, as I mentioned, sad moments. But this is not a sad show. It's a show showing how a person who is alone really isn't alone the more he goes out and meets people and allows more people into, I don't want to say circle, into his environment. Because at first he's very, I'm alone. No, he doesn't want to talk to anyone. He doesn't deal with anyone. And then he finds that he has to, because he's 4.
Yes.
And there are things he can't do and things he can't reach and places he doesn't know where they are, and he has to ask for help.
Yes.
And I think it reflects how, for each of us, this little 4-year-old reflects how in our lives we have to step out. We have to start trusting others at some point or time.
Right.
How we enlarge our circle of friends and we meet family we didn't have, and how we are truly never alone.
Right.
And his little outfit is the same outfit all the time. And you find out in an episode how he got this outfit, and it was really cute and heart-wrenching at the same time.
Right. And that is one thing to bring up. The episodes, majority of them are just hilarious as heck, with some moments of sadness or shock here and there. However, there is one thing you have to bring up, is that close to the end of the season or series, depending on if Netflix decides to bring this back for another round or not.
I hope there is a season 2.
Right. Is that towards the end, like the last 3 episodes, they end up being a little more sad than funny. They did have its comedy moments, but sometimes it would be more of like, okay, something's going to drive them apart, or there's a really sad backstory, or you find out what happened to his original family, and it starts being a little bit more than just here and there. So it might affect the enjoyment towards the end a little bit. I mean, it still has a good ending.
Yes, so you got to hang in there and watch it to the end.
Right, but maybe this is why people are saying, because towards the end it starts being like, okay, why is it a little more sad than happy? It's still happy, but you can tell it starts kind of doing a little more of that towards the end, and it felt like they were beginning to veer off its formula that they had started off with.
It's 10 episodes?
Yes.
10 episodes, and really it's something that you should give a watch. It's something different than what Netflix has been giving us as far as anime on there. It's not violent, it's not adult, it's not vulgar,
it's not
gothic.
graphic,
it's not
gothic,
full of foul language, it's not gothic, it's not a lot of things. And yes, I know some of those shows are fine, but if you want to change from the normal Netflix anime that they've been giving out, like BNA, which we wish they would bring back and have another season,
right,
then Kotaro Lives Alone is something that you should give a watch. It is exclusively on Netflix.
Yes.
And if you haven't seen it, give it a watch. If you have, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with us? Do you think something totally different? We want to hear you. Let us know.
Yes. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and weekly videos on your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
And more Netflix series review.
Yes. So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.